Thank you. All right, I'm going to go straight from my opening thought into the table topics because we're switching it up today a little bit. And is that all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
acceptable.
Because we're changing it up. Unfortunately, I have to leave. We've got a 12:30 meeting, but we're doing table topics. So doing table topics a little bit earlier than we normally do, but it kind of is going to like flow right in quite nicely, I think. The table topics are 1 to 2 minutes, correct? Right? And so for our guest, when you're up here doing your table topic, if you get selected, the point is to give your best response, but to stay within the time limit of 1 to 2 minutes. No matter what you have to say, you can make something up if you can't think of anything. It's just impromptu speaking for 1 to 2 minutes. So the theme of today is negativity. And all of the questions that are going to be tabletop questions have to do around, really it's the same question asked different ways, which is, can negativity be good or beneficial? Okay? Is there a time and place for benefit for negativity? And do negative thoughts, do they only breed negative results, or is there actual, can you get what you want out of being negative? So let me start off with a negative rant. It has to do with the mute button. How many times have you been in a meeting and they're silent and they're talking on mute? Can you really? Like after 100 times you talking on mute, you still can't figure out that one button, and actually when you start talking you can't actually press the button. You really, that's escaped your mind over and over and over. Come on, let's get that mute button straight. Okay? So Steve Jobs notoriously ranted and raved at his coworkers. He was antagonistic towards his coworkers at Apple, yet he's one of the most influential people of our time and one of the greatest inventors of our time. Nick Saban just won the championship with the Alabama Crimson Tide, and in his first interview right after he won the championship, the interviewer said, "So can I finally get a smile out of you?" And he said, "Yeah, baby," and finally he smiled, right? But he's normally a very serious, condescending person towards his players. We're entering the election season, and there's negative attack ads on TV all the time. So either people are wasting their money on attack ads or they're effective. So, to my first question, Mark. Some say there is a time and place for everything. Is there a time and place for negativity? Can pointing out the negative be good? Is it best to always look at the positive side of things? Or are people that always look for the positive side of things, are those people naive?
Wow, that's a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Tabletop Master. Fellow Toastmasters. So, is negativity a good thing? Is it something that we need, or that or people, like Kyle was saying, is always looking at the positive folks? Are they being unrealistic or naive, perhaps? And I'd say that, yeah, I think kind of like Doug mentioned in the beginning of the meeting, I think you need both poles. You kind of need, there's not a positive without a negative. I think that sometimes the negative can be even a good thing. It's just how it's perhaps delivered. Critiquing someone on a speech, for instance, you could say, these are some things you need to work on. And I guess like in a way that's kind of like it could come across as a negative thing, because there are areas that you didn't do very well on, but it's how it's delivered. I think if you critique someone and put a positive spin sometimes on that negativity, if that makes any sense, that negativity can be a good thing. It helps sometimes to help us realize maybe what action needs to happen. Some might say makes it more realistic, like I said, things that maybe needed to be pointed out. So it's kind of a tough question. It's one of those things you always hear. It's important to be positive, but I think it is required sometimes to have a little bit of that negativity.
Nicely done. A related topic to negativity is when something negative happens, sometimes people can complain. If you don't ask for something or you don't complain about something, you might not get it. I ordered a lettuce-wrapped veggie burger the other day, and when it came out, it had a bun on it. I chose not to complain, and now I'm wearing those calories right now. So the question for you, Wayne, is can complaining or displaying negativity in your complaints get you what you want sometimes?
Ooh, you can do it.
What is it? Thank
Mr.
you.
Tabletop
Mr.
Master.
Tabletop Master. Okay, so is it, can negativity and complaining get you
What we want.
Okay. This is my first time, so excuse the uhs and the.
We're counting.
Okay. I do feel that negativity can get you what you want. I think that when you are a little bit negative, or you do look at certain things negatively, you can find maybe fault in certain things, and if you find fault in certain things, it usually does lead to complaining, and when you complain, I do feel that you sometimes get what you want. And so I do think that negativity can lead to that. Do I think it's the best way? Probably not. I don't think that always looking at the negative side of things can produce positive outcomes. And so I just feel that it is a way of getting something that you want, but I don't think it's the best way. Okay, what does green card mean?
You're good. Yeah.
All right.
You can say, you've
I'm
met
good.
the minimum.
Yeah.
All right. I once had a boss who was a micromanager. During my time under that boss, I was generally miserable, and I had a poor attitude because of it. I was so desperate to get out of that situation that I interviewed for another position, and during that job interview, I focused on what I was trying to get away from rather than the opportunity that was in front of me. Because of that, even though I was the most qualified, I didn't get the job. Looking back on it now, I realize that I grew as a professional more from that boss than from any other boss. That boss taught me the importance of maintaining high professional standards and delivering only meticulously reviewed and accurate work products. Have you ever had an experience like this that you can appreciate after the fact, but wasn't so fun during? Or
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. I think everyone has had experiences like this at points throughout their lives. I think one of the ideas that I had behind this theme that everyone probably was a little surprised about and despises at some points is that it brings about an interesting question. It brings about the question of why. Why are people negative? Why are people mean and antagonistic and depressed and angry at times? And I think just asking that question can give you a lot of insight into what's going on behind people's eyes and heads and what's going on inside of their brains. But more importantly, to answer your question, I think it's an opportunity for us to grow as well. In Kyle's example, you felt like you had a situation where you learned more realizing it after the fact than you realized at the moment. And a situation I had like that in my life was actually in high school during volleyball. So my first experience with volleyball was to play on the JV men's team, which was actually coached by the women's varsity team coach, who was a young woman, extremely mean to all guys. For some reason, I think her dad was someone in the military, and I think she had a lot of disdain for that part of her life, for that male authority. So she used words around us that were probably not rated G or PG. She called us names. She was very mean to us the entire time. The entire season basically threw balls at us and made us do crazy, crazy drills. There was a little joke that we actually ran more than the track team throughout the entire season. But after that 1 year of experience, a lot of us were able to get into the varsity team very, very easily because that was the first time she had coached the JV team, and the varsity coach was actually very impressed with us. So it was only that second and third year that we were playing that we realized a lot of our fundamental skills were really beaten into us during that process, and we were better for it. So I think that that's something always to keep in mind when you're in negative situations. Thank you, Mr.
Nicely done.
CCM.
Okay, the last question is going to be around a fun topic that I think we all are asking questions about this one. Donald Trump. Donald Trump has been known to be antagonistic and to throw insults that even shock negative politicians. Media analysts think his rhetoric is so over the top that he isn't a serious candidate. However, people seem to like the fact that he doesn't back down, he doesn't apologize, even when pressured. He sticks to his comments almost always. He is leading in the polls and may actually be the favorite to become our next president. Why do you think Donald Trump is able to get away with his overly antagonistic comments and other politicians can't? Mary Jane.
Thank you, Kyle, Mr. Table Topics Master, for that question. Donald Trump is not a topic I like to discuss, and I think you and I have gone on plenty of runs where he has been a topic of discussion. And I think that he's able to get away with what he says because he's not a politician, he's a businessman. And the reason he gets so much attention is because he's dramatic and it's different, and a lot of people strive to be politically correct and say the right thing, and he just doesn't care. And it's reflective of our culture and our society that we allow someone like this who antagonizes other candidates, questions their credibility, their citizenship of all things, and that is elevating him and making him the front runner. He has a very negative approach. I do admire his candor and his honesty and his willingness to not care what others think, but as a politician, you have people looking up to you. You have people looking up to you as an example, as a role model, not just adults, professionals, but then children as well, and you're telling them that this behavior is okay. Where negativity and positivity need a balance. If you've seen Inside Out, you know the moral of the story is that joy must come with sadness. If you recognize my sweater, it is my Halloween costume from when I was sadness. That is another topic. But what I want to get back to is that as a politician and as a role model, and possibly maybe our future president, keep in mind the people that you're influencing and how you word your negativity. Like Mark said in those before me, it's all about your delivery. Negativity is necessary, but it needs to be delivered in a good way. Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
All right. Golf clap for Mary Jane.
Thank you.
Okay. We bring back up Doug, our Toastmaster.
Yep.